up to me and said, "You really captured something here," which I think is the highest compliment. If no matter what your political views, you see truth in something, it says a lot.
You know, this movie was a real pivot point for you. I mean, Jon, you with Swingers. I mean, anybody here see that movie? Which is huge. Someday you and me do a Christmas screening of Elf in LA, because I think everybody in the world would come and have turkey.
Fake snow.
Yeah, fake snow would be great. But I mean, these movies were great. But I remember talking to you the Monday morning after the weekend of opening weekend of Iron Man. I remember you barely had a voice left, and I could tell, and just talking to you on the phone, that you knew this was big.
I was with Robert and his wife and a few of our friends, and we were in there watching the box office grow, because you get reports in and in and in. And I remember Robert. Okay.
Where were you guys?
I'm gonna call him. Do you mind?
Yes!
Let me see if we can get him on the set.
Do it!
Avengers in New Mexico.
On the set of Avengers.
Oh my God.
You got it.
Calling Robert Downey Jr. on the set
Right.
of the Avengers in New Mexico. Oh my God.
You have his number? I thought
Put it on speaker!
He might have changed it.
Oh dear.
it's not gonna work. Do you get reception in here?
I can't seem to get a hold of him, or his phone's not on. All right, anyway, well,
Maybe I'll call back.
maybe he will. Should I try to?
Can you text him?
Maybe I'll text him. I'm eating up all this valuable time here.
Yes!
I've been standing back there in the hallway, my phone, he said, "I'm gonna call you, we got this bit," and then I heard he was calling, the phone didn't ring, couldn't get a signal. I was watching the end credits, and who's ever seen the movie was listed at the end of the movie. It went on and on.
It was a lot of credits.
We were so secret about it too, about getting Sam in, and the next day, Ain't It Cool News had it up.
Is that right?
We came in on like a weekend. He came in a limo. There was a small crew. I don't know how it got out, but and then when we did press screenings, we didn't put that on, and they were so frustrated. They're like, "I know it's true. You know, they did something. They're tricking you." And I knew we were. They were right.
How are you, Robert?
Oh great, this is fun.
You're back on the set tomorrow, right? So thanks or something like that, or?
Yeah, go back to New Mexico shooting Avengers.
You know, we all just watched Iron Man, or these folks all just watched Iron Man, and you know what I was asking Jon about is what it meant to him, you know, both in career and emotionally, and as accomplishment. And for you, when you look at this movie, it must have been a really significant, sparkling moment for you.
Yeah, it was cool. It's the best thing that ever happened to me. I mean, work-wise, you know.
Yeah.
And personally too, because I mean, you know, Jon and I went on this kind of journey together that was all about trying to take something and kind of maybe reinvent a genre a little bit, and it was just incredibly exciting. When you have nothing to lose, you don't really, I don't know, you sometimes take risks. You wouldn't, let's go fire this thing in my tank anyway. We might as well really make it trippy.
And the whole studio was like, there's a lot of pressure in a weird way, because if it didn't work, the whole studio was going to just go away.
It's like a lemonade
But
stand.
that wasn't our pressure.
It really wasn't.
No.
It really had a certain amount of poise, and they didn't really.
I want to move my chair closer to you.
Aww.
There we go. We ran into each other at Joel's Memorial Day barbecue, and I told him I'd be here. He's like, "Really? Can I come?" I'm like, "Yeah, you can come. Come on stage." So, yeah, it's 4 years, man. It was like.
Why are you leaning away from me now?
Sorry. This is like a human centipede. 4 years of just.
Now he's leaning forward like he might puke.
Working,
You know, I'm gonna stop judging you, just talk, they love hearing you talk.
working, and one just rolled right into the next one. It wasn't, there was really no downtime at all. And then we had the I Am Iron Man ending, which seemed like such a great idea, and was. And then we had to make a whole second movie that took that into account. That was a whole.
Your problem.
Well, and that problem led to a fascinating thing. I mean, you know, the Iron Man 2 and everything that's about Tony Stark now is a metaphor for celebrity and the sort of backdrop of gossip and you know, one of his biggest enemies is his own reputation and the way his persona is carried forth beyond and stuff. Could you guys talk a little bit about that? I mean, or maybe not.
First of all, excellent question.
I think part of it was, I thought, you know, what would be the cool choice to jump off with was the idea that the government was trying to get it when Stark's always been a Howard Hughes type figure, and or his father was, depending on which books you read. And the idea that they're trying to get the weapon away from him, like the old, and to look like the old Howard Hughes trials, and that he had the public on his side, and that it was almost like a Caesar-like rise, where an individual was more powerful than the government, because am I holding back? Okay, there we go. Because the court of public opinion was on his side, so the government couldn't go against him. Almost like in rollerball, where if somebody's too popular, they're very threatening to the government. And then, of course, when he slips up and somebody actually makes him look vulnerable, that's when the whole thing starts to come crashing down. And that was one of the initial conceits.
Yeah, people pounce.
Well, I think we also wanted to play with the idea that he's someone who does have an awakening of sorts. So when he comes back, he doesn't really want to play that game. I mean, one of the choices we made was that press conference. I was like, this feels like one of those press conferences in a movie. You guys are doing a much better job of it. You're taking the pictures at the right time, the people are reacting after, like, you know what I mean? Tony, what happened there? So I thought, what if he come in and just had a cheeseburger, kind of like, can we just sit down? I just feel like he's not comfortable with that old persona. And then moving forward into the second Iron Man, I think John's instinct was right on, which is, but it doesn't mean that he's retired his jersey. He can still play those games. He'd rather not. He just has his convictions. And I think that's the main thing about him, is he has one set of convictions until the end of the first act of the first Iron Man, and then you get to actually see someone grow more like a human being after their origins.
And you know, putting the movies together, there is all that crackle. I mean, it feels like a lot of the movie has a lot of the energy of captured moments that you guys found on the set and things like that. But there's a lot of challenge that goes with that. I mean, there's the chaos makes it beautiful, but the chaos also is chaos.
I got one for you. He said, I see Tony in the Iron Man suit inside the circle of Randy's Donuts.
Yeah.
He's come over. I was like, that's great. That's great. And then I had to climb up there with this suit, which is so not easy to move around in and be pivoted in it. And I'm not afraid or not afraid of heights. That was just one shot to show you how brave and how full of courage I am.
It was that was another thing. Is like we had a lot of, whereas in the first one it was pretty much open, you know, no tracks in the snow. By the second one, now all of a sudden there were a lot of different agendas for what we had to accomplish, and the introduction of S.H.I.E.L.D. and to reinforce Nick Fury. All of that became, for me, it got more into comic book territory. So anything we could do to ground it in reality, in something that's relatable. And so initially that scene was to take place, I think, in like a S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters with stainless steel, real X-Men style. And what we gravitated to is, no, have it be like a guy who fell off the wagon and the sponsor was meeting with him. And it was like the morning after. And Nick Fury's like, so how's this whole working on your own thing working out for you? You know, and he just looks like hell. And he hits rock bottom and then reveal that, you know, Black Widow. You know, so to put them in those crazy costumes in that very real environment felt like it was a way to somehow anchor it down. But as more and more elements become superhuman and superhero-ish, it becomes harder to find those little those pick points to ground it in something that you could relate to, at least for me as a storyteller.
Yeah. There's something